I never competed with anybody else, so I'm very competitive with myself, and I work very hard at what I do, and everything down to a T has to be done in a specific way to be the best. And you know, I didn't know how I was going to do it at the beginning, but you know, the success that I've had has been great, and it's been because of the work I believe I put into it. The biggest mistake that a headshot photographer makes doing headshots is thinking it's about the photography. It's not about the photography. It's about your relationship with your client. And it's about your client's vibe into the camera and what they're giving the camera, so that an onlooker can be intrigued by them and feel life out of them. And that's the biggest mistake headshot photographers make. And that's what I want you to learn out of this DVD. And that's what I want you to go find for each person that's in front of your camera, as I have to find for each person that comes into my studio every single day of the year. I'll tell you about when I started. When I started, I was modeling, and I had a photographer tell me to pick up a camera. And I had a friend who was a photographer who had shot me modeling. And I was in Madrid, actually, at the time. And I went to a camera store and bought a camera, and I left Madrid like the next week. So I was with a photographer who helped me buy the camera, but the next week I went to Barcelona because my wife and I were traveling around Europe modeling and you know, seeing some of her family and stuff like that. So we're in Barcelona, and I started shooting, and I couldn't figure out how to sync the flash to the I bought a flash with it, an on-camera flash. I couldn't figure out how to do I couldn't figure out how to make anything work when I was shooting at night. I was like, I'm only shooting during the day. That's it. I'm just going to shoot when the sun's out, and that's what I'm going to do until I figure all this out. So I shot natural light for a really long time, and I bought a darkroom before I bought my first lights. I came back to the States, I bought a darkroom, I set it up in my mom's basement, and I would shoot all week as things started to crank out. I would shoot all week in the city, drive to my mom, spend the weekend in the darkroom. So I shot natural light for a really long time, and I think, like I've said it before, there's no better light than the sun, and the sun is free. So go use it. Go crazy, go nuts, learn how to bend and shape it with reflectors or whatever other items that you can use to use it. Obviously, I live in New York, and right now it's the middle of winter. I would not want to be shooting a headshot outside. There are photographers that do it. I don't know how they do it or how their clients are comfortable while doing it, but I wouldn't do it. But some photographers need to do that because they don't have a studio or they don't shoot with lights. Get a southern-facing window. This is what I did. I moved back to New York with my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, and I lived in my brother's apartment, and he had like a 10 by 12 foot living room, and I bought my first set of lights there, and I started shooting. But I knew I wanted natural light. He didn't really have good light into the apartment. So after about 6 months, I was kind of broke. Modeling wasn't going real well. My photography business hadn't done anything. I was just charging like 30 bucks a roll of film. My brother's like, look, you got to get out of here. You're like, you know, I can't just hang out with him. So my girlfriend and I at the time looked around, and I was like, you know what I want? I want a southern-facing window, and I want it in a tall building in Manhattan. And I want windows that are wide and let as much light in as possible. So that's what I got. I got a place on the river in a new building on the 27th floor with big windows, one big window. It was a studio apartment with one big window. And I sat my butt on that window, and I shot, and I put up a white backdrop in front of me, and I shot people in front of that window for years. I mean, I started my career there, and it was all black and white. So the sun would change, the light would change. I would put a diffusion cloth over it when it was direct sunlight. If it was cloudy, I would just take it down. If it was raining, I'd slow my shutter speed down, so I still had beautiful light, but it was like I would freeze people. Natural light is definitely the way to go. A lot of people look at my setup and think how sophisticated it is and how I take great pictures because of this light, but the fact is that light is light, and controlling it and learning what to do with it is fantastic, and I want to fiddle with all the best light out there, but natural light is free. It's easily, you know, controlled if you're in an environment where you can use reflectors and stuff like that. If you're a headshot photographer on the street, in the streets of New York, you can't set up lights or anything, but you can have your makeup artist hold a reflector or something like that without getting bothered too much. So I would say just natural light, reflectors, you know, diffusion material if you need it. Definitely is the easiest thing to start out. If you're just starting out and you don't want to invest in this, invest in a camera and use natural light. I think in order to start a headshot business, you need a pro level DSLR. I mean, it doesn't even have to be pro level. I mean, maybe something like a high-end Canon Rebel might be like the lowest thing you would want to start with. I don't really know DSLRs because I've been shooting medium format for so long, but I know basically what I would say to